Today we're going to go ahead and find the equation of a line given 2 points that are on that line. So for our first example, we're going to find the equation of a line that goes through the points 3, -4, and 1, 6. So our very first step that we're going to do is we're going to make what I call a quick sketch. And we're going to basically just make a very quick sketch where we're plotting the 2 points, and that's going to allow us to see how steep our line is and whether or not it has a positive or negative slope. And this allows us just to verify that later after we do the math to make sure that we're doing it correctly. So my quick sketch here, I'm going to go ahead and plot 3, -4, it's about here, and 1, 6, line those up, and I can see that it's going to be a negative slope because I'm going downhill, and it's fairly steep. So we're going to go ahead and find that slope now. Now, as you know, we've talked about how our slope is delta y over delta x. Now, delta means change, so the difference. Difference means to subtract. So we're going to look at our equation and we're going to subtract the y's, that's going to be our numerator, then we're going to subtract our x's. Once again, this is rise over run, which is how we find our slope. We know our rise is how far we move on the y-axis, and our run is how far we move on the x-axis. So we're going to go ahead and set up our subtraction problem here, where we're just going to set up subtraction signs and a fraction bar. Now it's important, and I write this down every time, to remember which part of our ordered pair is our x and which part of our ordered pair is our y for both of these, because we don't want to subtract an x and a y, or a y and an x and x's, and we want to make sure that we're subtracting our y's up top and our x's down below. So just taking the second to write xy, xy on our ordered pair minimizes this very frequent mistake. So we have to choose one of our equations to start with, and I always start with the number that's bigger for my y value. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that 6 out from that second ordered pair. I'm going to subtract the other y from the other ordered pair, and that is a -4. So for my numerator, I have 6 minus -4. For my denominator, I have to start with the same x ordered pair. So because I started with the 6, I have to start with my 1. So I'm going to subtract my other x from my second ordered pair, and that is 3. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify this. 6 minus -4 is 10, and 1 minus 3 is -2. Please use your calculator if you struggle sometimes or sometimes get the wrong answer when we're adding and subtracting integers. We're now going to finish that up. 10 divided by -2 is -5. Once again, use your calculator. So now we have our slope, which is our m, of -5. So we know from one of these points to the other, we're going to drop down 5 and move 1 to the right. Drop down 5 and move 1 to the right. Now, we know we need 2 parts of an equation to find the equation of a line. We need the slope and we need our y-intercept. So now we're going to go ahead and go back in now that we know the slope between these two, and we're going to see where this line is going to cross the y-axis, which is our y-intercept. So our first step is we're going to pick either one of the points. I always try and pick the point that has mostly positive values and easy numbers. So as you can tell here, my second point, 1, 6, they're both positive. So that's the point I'm going to pick to use to find my y-intercept. Now I'm going to go ahead and write actually down the equation of a line, y equals mx plus b. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and plug in y for y. So I look at my selected ordered pair and I see my y is 6. So I'm going to replace my y from my equation of the line with the number 6. So I have 6 equals mx plus b. Now I'm going to substitute the slope that I just found out in place of m. So instead of m, I'm going to write -5. So I have 6 equals -5x plus b. Now the other piece of information that I know is x for x, and I'm going to make sure I put this in parentheses. So my x is 1. So I have 6 equals -5 times 1 plus b. Now I have all numbers, and my only variable that I have remaining is b, which is convenient because I'm trying to solve for b, for my y-intercept. So I'm going to go ahead and solve for b. 6 equals negative 5 times 1 is negative 5 plus b. I'm going to add 5 to both sides, and b is equal to that positive 11. So now I know both my slope and my y-intercept. So my next step is here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in m and b into the equation y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to replace m with negative 5 and b with my y-intercept that I just found out. So my equation of the line that goes through points 3, negative 4, and 1, 6 is y equals negative 5x plus 11. Now I can go ahead and check my answer. If I plug in a 3 for x, I should get a negative 4 as an answer. So negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. Negative 15 minus 4, negative 15 plus 11 is that negative 4. I should also be able to plug in a 1 for x and get 6 for y. So 1 times negative 5 is negative 5, and negative 5 plus 11 is 6. So I know that plugging in those x's gives me those y's, so I know that this is the equation of the line. We're going to go ahead and try again with a second set of examples for our ordered pairs. So here's our example 2. I'm looking for the equation of the line that goes through negative 2, 6 and negative 1, 4. So first I'm going to find the slope. I'm going to go ahead and set that up with a subtraction in a fraction area, and I'm going to pick one of those points to go first. I see 6 is the bigger y, so I'm going to start with 6. And I'm going to have 6 minus 4 for my numerator. Remember, I'm subtracting my y's. Now I'm going to subtract the x's. Because I started with the 6, I need to start with the x from the same ordered pair. So for my denominator, I'm going to have negative 2 minus negative 1. Now I'm going to go ahead and just solve these. 6 minus 4 is 2. Negative 2 minus negative 1 is negative 1. I'm going to finish with the division problem. 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. So my slope for this line is negative 2. So I'm going to drop down 2 and 1 to the right. Drop down 2 and 1 to the right from one point to the next. Now I'm going to go ahead and find my y-intercept. So I write down the equation, y equals mx plus b, and I'm going to use the point negative 2, 6. So I'm going to plug in that 6 for y. 6 equals mx plus b. I'm now going to plug in my slope of negative 2. So 6 equals negative 2x plus b. Now I'm going to finish up by plugging in my x from my same ordered pair, which is negative 2, in a set of parentheses. So 6 equals negative 2 times negative 2 plus b. I'm now going to solve for b. 6 equals 4 plus b, subtract 4 from each side, and b is equal to 2. So I now know my slope is negative 2, and my y-intercept is positive 2. I'm now simply going to put that into my equation, y equals mx plus b, and my final equation of the line that goes through these points is y equals negative 2x plus 2. Now, once again, I should be able to plug in my x and solve for y. So if I plug in a negative 2 times negative 2 is 4, 4 plus 2 is 6. So that gives me my first ordered pair. My second, I'm going to plug in a negative 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2, and 2 plus 2 is 4. So I verified that I did it correctly, and I have my equation of the line given 2 points. We're going to see this many times on many tests and many quizzes throughout the year, and it's something that is a little bit more difficult. There's a lot of steps. So I'd watch this video again, especially right before we have a test or a quiz, and just to clarify all of the steps that you go through. Now remember, you will be able to use your notes, so make sure that you have these notes clear and all of those steps written down.